You get into this state where you're just like, everything's just wrong, everything's just bad. And that happens, like that life happens. Like those are the people that life happens to them and it gets challenging, but that's where
I give you $10 million. Do you want them?
Yeah.
Okay. I give you $10 million, but I said tomorrow you can't wake up. And ever again.
But that's not the truth. When you get into a relationship, you don't lose yourself. You don't lose your time. Things are different.
In freedom, the misconception that I've seen a lot, and I was guilty of it for many years, is you think that because you want to be free, you have to take. If you were to change anything to gain more freedom right now into your life, what would it be? Hey beautiful people, it's Vivien and I want to thank you, and please thank yourself for being here. Before we go into this episode, I invite you to join this channel to hear more episodes that will help you create a more meaningful life full of freedom, purpose, and deep, true relationships. All I want you to do is click on the subscribe button. I love your support and I can't wait to go on this journey of discovery with you. Thank you for subscribing. It means the world to me. Hi, today I'm welcoming Josh Alexander, a professional illusionist, a life coach with a passion to create magic in the life of every human being that, he can meet, turning the ordinary into really the extraordinary. And most of all, one of my dear friend. This person used his experience over 15 years as a professional magician and illusionist to help his client really break through the illusions that we see all the time and change their world from, a new perspective so they can achieve a realm of transformation in their life. And as life and love relationship coach, he guides those individuals into connecting and expressing what they truly feel and being the true self. But most of all, over everything else, he just became a father. And in today's discussion, this will be all about fatherhood and its impact on freedom. Trust me, it will be a really insightful one, and I cannot wait for you to actually hear it. Josh, my friend, hello. Hi. Nice to see you here with me.
See you, man. Offline, here we are in Jakarta.
Yeah, here we are, Jakarta, exactly. So you have been knowing me for a year and a half.
About that?
Yeah, about that. You had a lot of transformation in your life. I had too.
Exactly.
And today I wanted to have you on the One Freedom Formula podcast because there is one big transformation that happened to you. You became a father.
That's right. Oh, so incredible. Love it.
Yeah. And so, the idea of the podcast, as you know, is what is freedom? What is freedom from everyone? What is freedom during life? And one of the things is freedom always evolves. And you are... part of who you are is also being a relationship coach.
Yeah.
What a transformation in relationship.
Absolutely.
Having a kid.
Yeah, new season, man.
Yeah. How do you feel?
I mean, I feel it's in terms of transitioning from being married to being parents is really wonderful because I mean this kid is like my center right now. Everything is just, I wake up and I see her smile and I feel really good. I mean, it definitely has been it's a different transformation in between my wife and I's relationship. So there's definitely that, not in a bad way, but definitely in a different way. Let's just say that.
Yeah. At one point that you were saying is the kid become your center. How does that affect the relationship? Because generally we say, first your spouse, then your kids.
Yeah. I think that's also something like, so here's the interesting thing. Before, how usually before people get married, they go through like premarital counseling. Mm-hmm. So we were one of my leaders suggested or just recommended, hey, what about if you go just do some stuff before you have a kid? Like right before we had the kid in December, we met with some counselors and we want to make a pre-parenting counseling a cool thing now, because I think as we go through different seasons, it's so important to kind of work through whatever junk you got so that coming into the next season, you're not bringing stuff from last season.
Yeah, that's a good point. I think every season you actually accumulate a part of junk also.
Yeah.
Like you are growing, but there is always this part of junk that goes with this growth.
Yeah.
Because
growth is a painful process in some part, but it's also a process of accumulation. And so that's one of the things that I really admire with, the discussion that we had is always about how do we grow, but also how do we remove the gravy stuff that we don't want and all of that. So, how did that happen for you?
See, a lot of it, right, starts with just knowing what is the junk that you got to get through, and I totally agree with you. I think every time we go into something, there's always some kind of baggage or junk that we pick up, and I think that's why we have to be in constant awareness of not just the junk, but like just everything. Just be self-aware. That's the in thing right now, right? To be self-aware in many different aspects, but at least in the primary aspect, just be aware of yourself. Be aware of how you're feeling and what you're thinking, because that will affect, especially when you get into relationships with people that are close to you. The less aware you are, the higher chance it will be for conflict or for problems to arise. And so I think that's where that awareness is where it all starts.
Yeah, so true to that. And, you became a coach, you're leader in ministry and all of that. How did it start for you? The awareness of yourself.
It definitely didn't start by myself. I think this journey started 7 years ago, when I first started this whole development process. Because in your 20s you're just doing whatever, YOLO, right, living life. But then eventually, not many people, not everybody, but some people, they reach a stage where they call it sometimes the quarter life crisis, right? They're like, okay, I've done partying, but now what? And it was when I was going through just like trying to figure out what I want to do for the rest of my life that I was introduced to a coach. And I've never done that before. I've never done any sort of therapy or counseling or mentoring or coaching. But the way that they helped me to just sit and just work through my stuff really was, as you say, transformational. And that is what just motivated me to want to do that for other people, right? Because I had friends around me that had junk as well, but they didn't have somebody that was able to sit with them and not just listen, because everybody can listen, but for someone to be able to help the other person look at things from different perspectives and gain that awareness. It's a skill, right? And I think that's something that I really wanted to be able to bring to other people. And it was since then that led me to becoming a certified coach, and then finding my specificness in life coaching, leadership, and love coaching. Those are my 3 different things. And here I am, still applying that personally and also to the people around me.
Yeah, I think that's a great skill set, even like as a coach myself, even when you're creating a relationship with people, the ability to actively learn by listening about what the person really think and who the person really is invaluable in today's. Like a lot of people, we just go through the world and relationship like this is just, I'm that person and I do this way and this is how things need to go. But then if you look at it in a way as a coach does, you basically the person that asks questions. That's the superpower of a coach. Asking the right questions and being able to understand what the person is saying in front of them. And when you become a father, that's a skill that gets really, really useful.
Yeah, because like I understood coming into a relationship, a marriage, before I got married, like that would be a skill that I really need to work on. As guys, I got to listen, right, as much as we want to talk. And so now that I have a kid, I'm learning a new sense of listening, not just what I audibly hear, but also like emotionally and sense, like what is my sensual awareness of how my child is. Like, I learned that my baby, my 4-month-old has 4 different types of cries. Like they cry, and each of them are different messages, right? And so I'm never gonna be like, just tell me what you want. Like baby can't talk yet, but I'm being able to hear more than just what is being said is that deep skill that coaches have, is to be able to hear beyond what's being said.
And the 4 cries is like we all know them as the parents. Like, oh, this is pain. This is poop. This is I'm hungry, and this is I'm bored.
Oh definitely, those are right.
And then you're like, okay. I know you. You're not speaking, but I understand.
At the beginning, I was like, I understand what's happening, but eventually you adapt and you learn.
Yeah. That's human have the ability to adapt, and that's a great thing. But at the same time, if you're not listening to yourself, you can't really listen to others.
Oh, that's good. That's good.
And so, you know, when I told you about the freedom, my definition of freedom, which is the act of actively doing something that make you feel free, and not doing anything that you want, because then it's chaos.
Yeah.
Then as a father, you know, it's even more valued, because if you look at freedom as a father, you're like, you have to change diaper, you have to wake up every 2 hours, you have to feed the baby, you have to help the mother, you have to work, do all of those things all together. But still, do you feel free in that moment in your life?
I think going by your definition of freedom, I definitely think I do, in a sense that I am able to consciously make the decisions and choices, and I don't feel like, you know, I don't feel like things are happening to me, right? A lot of people feel like things are happening to them, but because of this heightened sense of awareness, I'm able to be aware and make choices and like not be stressed about doing it. Like I'm conscious and I'm aware and I'm, you know, making it the way I want it to be. And I think that's what has made me, like, for example, like I'm happy to change diapers. Like I'm willing to do it, you know, because like that's my time with my kid, you know, where the mom is feeding my baby, like I get to change the diapers. And so, you know, those are the small things that both my wife and I have come to the decision, like, hey, you know, like we can choose to be stressed about this, but like she poops, like awesome, she poops, she has a good digestive system, you know, like the way we see things is so important.
Yeah, I think that's one of the things that I've myself, when I was a father, really appreciated much more than anything else, is how you can actually enjoy it by changing your perspective. Because everything is in life is perspective, you know, like the experience that we are living and how we feel them is entirely an inside.
Yeah.
It's not an outside thing.
Yeah.
And so when I was looking at that as a father, you know, like changing diapers, putting clothes on the kid, feeding the kid, taking care of it. I mean, for me, one of the most beautiful moments as a father is when you're like bare chest, you have your kid on you, falling asleep.
Yeah.
Like there is no better feeling than that moment in time.
I completely agree.
And it's like, it's a lot of chemical release. Yes, we all know that. But it doesn't matter the physical of it. Just the emotional of it is invaluable.
Yeah.
And for me, that was freedom. Like that was like the most free you can feel. Is like just have your child there, and you're like, bless me, I can sleep there with him, no worries. I enjoy.
And they're telling me those moments aren't forever.
Oh no, they're not.
Enjoy them while they last, because that's what all the other parents and dads tell me. Like, enjoy these moments. I think that's another thing. Like, you have to, in your awareness of the present moment, is you know, that's so important, because you know, our minds are so easily thinking about what happened or what hasn't happened, where our daily practice and discipline should be to be present. This is what my coach taught me, is to be present. Right, for us, I think to experience that freedom, it's not something that's going to happen later, you know, because everybody's always chasing after later and next and the future. But it's how can we be free here right now with like you said, with the perspective that we have, with what we have right now.
Yeah, I think that's a beautiful thing when you are able to be present. Yeah, but this is not an easy thing.
Nope, absolutely not. Because even I mean, us sitting here, right, we're talking, but then I'm sure our mind can be thinking about, oh, what's gonna happen, what's happening for lunch, or you know, what am I doing later? Like that's a thing that even people watching or listening right now, they're probably thinking like something different as they're listening to this podcast.
Yeah. Or you know, we're maybe thinking also, what's the next question? What the next thing that I want to say? Where I'm gonna go?
Always next.
And if you remember, I sent you a list of questions.
You did.
None of them have been come up, right?
Absolutely not. And we are 15 minutes into this now.
And the reason why I designed that podcast this way is I put questions to make people think before, but I want this to be a present discussion.
Love it.
And that, you know, the reality of things, the rawness of things, and the growth come from the presence.
Yeah.
If you're not present and you're already thinking like, oh, what I'm gonna do, gonna do tomorrow, you're losing so much. And as a parent, when you know, like, let's take it that way. You, before getting married, you party, you enjoy, then you get married. Then you have to think about the presence in the marriage, because marriage is work.
Yep.
It is not a walk in the park.
Yeah.
It is work, but it is freedom if you take it the right way.
Yeah.
Like on the first 2 episodes, we were discussing about it with my wife, you know, freedom in marriage.
Yeah.
You don't lose freedom. It's just change. And
Yeah.
then you become a parent.
Yeah.
And then it changed again.
Yes.
And that is temporary because, as you said, you know, the moment where you have a kid on your chest for sleeping on you, it won't last.
Yeah.
Then it changes in another way and another way and another way.
Yeah.
And when they become teenagers, that's again something else. And then when they become adult and they leave you, and then you're going back to being two together,
Yeah.
it's another way. So I think that's what people really need to understand, is like freedom needs presence and need awareness. And so you are your practices. What are your practices? How do you actually make it actively?
I think gratitude is a great starting point, because we can always start off with, you know, again, having that mentality of scarcity, which is thinking we don't have or not enough. But if you start with the attitude of gratitude, right, I think it really helps. That's because I remember early on in my relationship with my wife, I was just a lot of times feeling so challenged, so tired or whatever. And she just reminded, like, let's just be thankful. Let's just start by being thankful. And that really helped. That daily she challenged me to just say one thing I was thankful for. And that's like something I bring now to everything, in every relationship, in every class that I do, every workshop that I do. I just start with, hey, what are you guys thankful for? And I think that's a great place to start. In terms of developing that discipline of being present and being aware.
Oh, yeah.
Is that. Because once you start there, then everything else will fall into place. Because you're already at a different, as you say, perspective.
Yeah.
Rather than a starting perspective of, I don't know where I'm at or what I'm doing. You start with, hey, here's where I am, here's what I have. Wow, let's keep going.
True.
From that.
True.
Right?
Yeah, I think gratitude, having the attitude of gratitude, I love that sentence, but this is so true. One exercise that I do is some of my clients that I love, which I got it from the training I did a long time ago, is roses, buds, and thorns.
Okay.
So the roses are the beautiful thing that happened
Yep.
during the time that you are with that person. Like, for example, this podcast is a rose.
Yeah.
And then you have the bud, which is the thing that you have planted, the seed, that will grow into a rose.
Yeah.
And then you have the thorn. What are the problem that you have?
Yeah.
And so after that, you're looking at it like, I may have like 1 or 2, 3 thorns, but there is so much buds and roses around me that you become more and more aware of the gratefulness about things, because you start looking at the scale of it. Like, okay, yeah, I had some problem, but there is so much that I got. Like, I met my friends, I had a drink. Like, as a parents, you know, my son, my daughter is starting to speak, walk, whatever it is. And there's so many things that we are grateful for, but at the same time, as you said, if we don't do it actively, we don't see it.
Yep.
We don't see it.
It has to be almost a mind shift, a perspective change, right? A mindset change, a mind shift, where because we're so used to, again, the problems and the challenges, because they do pile up, and they every day will always there'll always be something, and it's, I forget what the name, I think it's called negative bias or something like that. But
Yeah, negative bias.
you get into this state where you're just like, everything's just wrong, everything's just bad. And that happens, like that. Life happens. Like, those are the people that life happens to them, and it gets challenging. But that's where, like you said, we have to make a choice. We have to make it an activity, a discipline, as something that you have to make time for, to do, to make that a bigger thing than the problems, because the problems will always be there. So I never tell people to, like, oh, it's just a small problem, or like we get rid of the problem, because that's a wrong way of thinking. But saying, okay, here's the problem, we name it for what it is. But then we do the other thing where we just say, okay, what else are we thankful for? And build that list. And you will see that the positive list is usually always higher than the negative list.
Yeah. Well, there is cases where it's inverse because you have journeys in life and you have moments where everything is bad, and then you actually, if you look at it, you only need a little gratitude to overcome bigger problem. And on that, what I've realized doing that with people for such a long time is the first time you say, what are you grateful for? They're like, I don't know. Let me think about it. And then you do that regularly for like a week, 2 weeks. And then people are like, they have list long, like 2 arms.
Let's go.
Yep. That's the whole thing I'm grateful because we have this bias in our brain to only look at what we are thinking.
Yeah.
And so, for example, the story of the red car. I tell you, look for a red car, you will see like 20 red cars in a day. And then you look for a brown car, you see 20 brown cars in a day. So because our mind works that way, it's a filter mechanism.
Yeah.
If you start putting gratitude into your filter, saying, hey, I'm grateful, I want to be grateful, I'm looking for it, then you will see it.
And this has to be a choice. It has to be. It is difficult at the beginning. Like you said, I do also know people, and sometimes myself, it's just like, what am I thankful for? And I usually just give a time frame, 7 days, just past 7 days, right? In the past 7 days, there must have been something, right? Are you breathing right now? Look at that. You have health. Yeah, you sleep good last night? Look at that. You have a bed, right? So I think it's not that hard. It is, and once we get in the hang of it, like, it will be a long list, like you said.
Well, there is a easy thing to make people realize, and I've seen that, and I really loved it, and I use that now. I give you $10 million. Do you want them?
Yeah.
Okay. I give you $10 million, but I say tomorrow you can't wake up. And ever again.
No, I don't want that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So just, making realize that the simple act of waking up is already such a miracle.
Yeah.
And then as a parent, the single act to hear, your baby breathing, your baby...
Oh my gosh. There's so many things that could have gone wrong. I learned so many different things that could go wrong. And there were moments where I stressed myself too much thinking about before the baby was born. And I was like, this is so unhealthy, right? Like comparing and like watching stories. And I'm like, you know what? It's out of my hands anyway. There's literally nothing I can do. And how this baby's going to be born is how it's going to be born. And I think I just had to let go and kind of surrender that sense of control, because I think that's the other thing. So if we're talking about like what are the practices, right? The first thing was gratitude. The second thing is like surrendering control, because I think as humans we have grown, maybe there's trauma and stuff in our past that have caused us to be hurt, and as a defense mechanism our just our nature wants to be in control so that we protect ourselves from being hurt. And I think that's where you have to daily just realize you are not in control, and make the choice to surrender and be like, I'm, I'll do my part, but the outcome is not up to me.
So that's a really good point. And I think that's a second pillar of freedom, is also to start releasing control.
Oh, wow.
Because think about it. How can you be free?
First of all, I never knew about these pillars. I mean, I've heard about them, but that's so interesting that's
some of the things that is on the One Freedom framework. I will show you later. But one of them is actually, there is ego. Ego is really nasty stuff. And then the control.
Yeah.
Because how can you be free if you control?
Wow.
Think about it. Control is the fact of grasping something and really holding to it. But life is all about change.
Yeah.
It's all about different journeys.
Yeah.
It's all about moment in the present.
Yeah.
So how can you, take a hold of that and think that you're free?
Yeah. You mentioned earlier that like when people get married or when people get kids, they think they're losing freedom or control, which is what actually prevents a lot of people from getting married or having kids, because they think they will lose something. And I thought that was the farthest thing from it.
It is.
Like, I don't know what misconception or what lie there is out there, but that's not the truth. When you get into a relationship, you don't lose yourself. You don't lose your time. Things are different, right? And in freedom or in life, like, you grow and things are different, but that doesn't mean you become less of a person.
Nope.
If anything, you become more of a person. If anything, my wife has helped me be a better person rather than, rather than me choosing to see her as someone that just nags on me every day. No, she's helping me to be a better person. Having a kid doesn't mean I can do less. We just went on a week-long vacation to Singapore, our first international vacation.
And a kid.
with a kid, with a 4-month-old, and it was possible. And I think that's where, and it was great. But I think that's the misconception that people need to get over, is that, you know, when you progress in life, when you overcome challenges, when you move into different seasons, you know, you got to let go of because maybe there's something bigger out there.
Yeah.
Right? If you're holding on so much to trying to protect the life that you have, you're going to miss out on the other things that could be given to you, the bigger and better things. And back to why I think the challenge in letting go of that is that people fear the unknown.
Yeah.
Right. Fear what they don't know. People fear what they can't control. And I think that's why, like you said, it's so important to let go of that control, to be able to experience something bigger.
Yeah. And there's this 2 point that I want to piggyback on, which is really what you said, is like, where did that idea of losing something come from? Well, if you look at it, I would say Hollywood is a big responsible for that. Let's me be honest. All those dramas, love things with the
heartbreak sells. Taylor Swift, that's why she's a billionaire.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at it, it's true that we had been conditioned to see couples love in a certain way. It needs to be romantic, it needs to be easy. If you don't have the right partner, it will necessarily be bad, which is partially true. Like, having the right partner is detrimental to your growth and your freedom in a couple.
Okay.
Having the wrong partner can kill you, literally. Like not just, but kill you, because you could actually go to the bad side of mental health really quick.
Yeah.
So, you know, that's one of the parts. Like, I think between Hollywood vision that was embedded in us, like, hey, here it is, and now we're hearing a lot more about the divorce because the society is becoming more self-centric and far less relationship-based. And if you look in Asia, there's still this trauma about divorce, so there is not that many cases of divorce and in other countries, but there is a lot of, I would call that fake marriage, where people are married, but they're not married. They're not together anymore. They have partners on the side. They just stay for the kids. And this is maybe one of the worst things that you can do to yourself.
Yeah.
And then for the kids.
Yeah.
Like, kids take what you show them.
Yeah.
And as a father, that's also something I think for you, I don't know how you see that, but when I became a father, there was things that I used to do, and in place that I used to work, for example, in some industries, that I said, no, I don't want to work there anymore because this is not what I want to show to my son.
Right.
Or I don't want this situation because this is not what I want to show to my son. And people, before they get a kid, generally they think about it as sacrifices.
Yeah.
Do you feel it's a sacrifice? Because I don't.
I mean, a sacrifice is such a scary word for some people because they think sacrifices you have to give something.
Yeah.
Right? I actually would like to use the word investment.
Exactly.
Investment is a nicer word because you do get something in return. Sacrifice, you feel like you're just giving it up and you lose.
Yep.
Whereas for me, investment is you give something and you get something.
I love that.
You get something bigger in return, right? You give a little something, but then you get a lot of something back.
Yeah.
And I think that's where I never look at my time as a sacrifice. I never look at my my energy as a sacrifice to my wife or to my kid, but it's, hey, I'm giving something because I want to, because I know that my small act of whatever I'm doing, changing a diaper, for example, will really help my wife. You know, she'll feel like one less thing she has to do. And it's like, you know, I think that's where, back to that mentality, you don't lose anything.
Yeah.
Just give a little, and it's a give. It's a gift. Yeah. It's not a take, right? Nobody's taking anything from you. You choose to give it. Like as we were to give gifts, we want to give gifts. Same thing. We want to give ourselves, our time, our energy, our resources to somebody because we know that that'll just be a positive thing for them. It'll be encouraging for them.
And your freedom is not their freedom because everyone has a different freedom.
My freedom today is, I think, for me, it is back to that thing of being present.
As a parent, what you're doing is doing something for someone else.
That's for the next generation.
Exactly.
And I've realized in all of this, in whatever vision or whatever plan or whatever thing that we want to do, we can't do it alone.
What would you say you wish you would have known before you become a father?